Hi, I'm Carly Goldring.
And I'm Danielle Geist.
And we're from Michigan State University, and this is our final senior presentation. For our topic, we chose ocean trash because we know it's a very big problem today, and we hope everyone can learn more about it from this. To start off, we have some questions. So how long do you think it takes a fishing line to decompose? It actually takes about 600 years. For the next question, how long do you think it takes a cotton shirt to decompose? It actually takes about 2 to 3 months. So good job if you got it right. And lastly, how long do you think it takes a tin can to decompose? That's right, about 50 years. In this picture, you can see very commonly used items, each with a year that tells you how long it would take for it to decompose. Trash can end up in the ocean no matter what. Trash ends up in the ocean by people littering, by the wind, by storm drains, or even through pipes. Trash has a very easy way of ending up in the ocean. Now for a couple more questions. On International Coast Cleanup Day in 2017, do you think there was more food wrappers or cigarette butts that were found? Crazy enough, there was more cigarette butts than food wrappers that were found. Now for the last question. Do you think it is possible that the number of plastic bottles found and the plastic caps they found were the same number? Surprisingly enough, they were very different numbers. As you can see in the picture, the most found item on Coastal Cleanup Day in 2017 were cigarette butts with plastic filters, with about 2.4 million. Next to food wrappers, then plastic beverage bottles, plastic bottle caps, plastic grocery bags, other plastic bags, straws, takeout containers, plastic lids, and then foam takeout containers. There are many different types of plastic, but the most deadly and mistaken for food that kills marine life are plastic bags and plastic utensils. As you can see in the picture, there are 2.5 billion metric tons of solid waste that is produced all around the world. And 80% of plastic comes from land, not ships and boats, where most people would think it comes from. Plastic can also get into the ocean by wind and by what people tend to put down the drain. There are 8 million metric tons of plastic that goes into the ocean. As I just stated, every year about 8 million metric tons of plastic end up in the oceans. It's equivalent to 5 grocery bags filled with plastic for every foot of the coastal line in the world. And an estimated 14 billion pounds of trash, most of it being plastic, is dumped into the world's oceans every year.
So, why should we care? The left-behind fishing nets and fishing lines float just below the water surface, making them virtually impossible to be seen from a boat. This means it is eerily easy for boats to drive over them, resulting in the nets getting wrapped around boat propellers or even stuck in the intake system. In extreme cases, this can lead to the loss of human life, because the boats sink. Scuba divers are also susceptible to the dangers posed by fishing nets and fishing lines. They can easily get entangled in these nets and be unable to escape, resulting in serious injury or death. These same abandoned nets also entangle many fish, causing them to die. This, as you can imagine, leaves less fish for humans to catch and consume, and is a process known as ghost fishing. The trash that ends up in the ocean also washes up upon our shores fairly frequently. This is very dangerous, especially if the trash is sharp, such as a shard of metal, because people can step on it and seriously injure themselves. New York and New Jersey had this happen to them when they had medical waste wash up on their shores. They had to close their beaches and caused local businesses to lose approximately $3 billion during the cleanup process. This drastically impacted the amount of tourism that the entire area saw, not just the beaches. The biggest impact that the trash has is on marine life. The foreign objects can cause habitat structures to be modified by reducing the amount of light that reaches an area, and can even reduce the amount of oxygen available. This is a massive complication for coral reefs, which are also home to many other species of animals. Some animals even ingest the trash. Some of this trash, such as plastic, is not digestible and is never passed through the organism's digestive system. This causes animals to suffer from malnutrition, as well as consume harmful chemicals. Ingesting the trash has the potential to disrupt entire food chains. So how does all of this trash affect our climate? The key stands with lanternfish. They make up over half of the total fish in the ocean. They spend the day on the ocean floor, and as night falls, they come to the surface in one of the planet's largest mass migrations to feed on the carbon-rich plankton resting on the ocean surface. These fish then dive back to the bottom of the seas and eventually leave their carbon-rich poop on the ocean floor. This process is responsible for removing an estimated 20 to 35% of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere. When plastics are deposited in the ocean, they eventually break up into microplastics, which these lanternfish now consume in place of the plankton. Approximately a third of all lanternfish studied have been found with these undigestible pieces of plastic in their stomach. This means that the more plastic that is in the ocean, the more lanternfish will consume, and the less carbon dioxide that will be able to be removed from the atmosphere. With the ocean being one of the major carbon sinks of our planet, these plastics only aid in increasing global warming.
Another way ocean trash and plastic can have an effect on climate is with microscopic algae. They turn dissolved CO2 into fuel, known as organic carbon, and these algae are consumed by many different types of animals, forming the basis of the marine food web. When these algae eat microplastic pieces of plastic waste, it interferes with the food chain. Scalps, a different type of algae, also that ingest algae at the sea surface and produce dense fecal pellets which rapidly sink to the deep sea, carrying with some of them captured carbon, which reduces the carbon in the atmosphere. This means microplastics have the potential to lower the efficiency of one of the most important natural processes occurring within our oceans, the biologically driven transport of CO2 to the seafloor, reducing it in our air. Now for some very interesting statistics. About 9 out of 10 of all solid waste in the U.S. does not get recycled. And 9 out of 10 people said they would recycle if it was easier. Also, women on average express more concern for the environment and are more likely to recycle than men. Another interesting fact I found was that 100,000 plus animals die every year from plastic ingestion. And 2/3 of the world's fish stock is suffering from plastic ingestion. Also, China produces the most plastic waste out of all countries. And 13,000 to 15,000 pieces of plastic are dumped into the ocean every day.
So now we have to talk about the 3 R's, otherwise known as reduce, reuse, and recycle. So how can we reduce the amount of trash we produce? When we go grocery shopping, you can reduce the amount of waste you produce by buying products that don't come with as much trash. For example, you can buy vegetables without putting them in the provided plastic bags. When you don't have a choice but to buy products that contain waste, buy in larger portions. And this will also help to reduce the amount of waste you produce. For example, if you must buy paper towels, instead of buying a single roll, buy a larger package that comes with multiple rolls. While the multiple roll package will have more waste, you know you will use those paper towels over time, and overall, you are creating less plastic than if you bought each one of those rolls of paper towels as individuals. You can also reuse things. Less trash is produced and has the opportunity to enter our waterways when we reuse products. This can mean buying a container of water that is meant to be refilled as opposed to individual water bottles. You can also get crafty with waste. You can use wine corks to make a picture, such as the picture to the left shows, or you can even use empty candle jars as cotton ball holders. It is also very important to recycle. Compost any biodegradable objects if you have the means. For all other products that are no longer needed, please check with your local recycling company if that object can be recycled. Some interesting items that I thought could be recycled were things such as CDs and light bulbs. But it's also very important to use less. Reducing our consumption of one-use items is difficult, to say the least. One major way you can make an impact is by boycotting products that utilize single-use plastics or other non-reusable materials. We can also change our lifestyle to match our ideals. For example, instead of buying those paper towels, switch to using cloth washable towels. I know laundry day will seem to come up a lot faster, but you would have a better excuse to buy cute hand towels at your local grocery store. Finally, another great way to stop the consumption of single-use material is to become vocal. Please reach out to companies who utilize single-use materials and propose another way for them to package their products that is more eco-friendly. Also talk to friends and family about the effects of our trash and how to reduce their environmental impact.
In the world today, there's something called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. This is a trash vortex in the North Pacific Ocean, and it is caused by all the ocean currents coming together. People say it tends to look like a floating island of trash in the middle of the ocean. Over half of the garbage patch comes from land activities in North America and Asia, not from boats. Today, the Ocean Cleanup is taking charge and is really trying to get rid of the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. For example, in 2015, they took 30 units and 652 surface nets across the Great Pacific Garbage Patch and collected 1.2 million plastic samples. The Ocean Cleanup is counting and classifying every single piece they collect. Now, here are some extra resources that helped us with our presentation. We really hope you enjoyed and hopefully learned more. Thank you.